You're now watching the Danny Mac Podcast on the BetRivers Network.
Welcome back in, and those of you who have been with me regularly on these weekly podcasts since the 24 season ended, you know I have been quarterback intensive. It's included Kurt Warner, a Hall of Famer. It's included people who watched Caleb Williams at USC, like Rodney Peete, the 15-year NFL veteran, Eric Kramer from Bears lore, Jim McMahon. But I never have talked to a guy who's thrown a touchdown pass in a long time. So that changes today as the Bears get ready to go to camp. It's my pleasure to welcome in Tyson Bagent, number 17, for a few weeks last year, a folk hero in Chicago and around America. Tyson, thanks for the time and welcome. How you feeling today?
Hey, I'm feeling great. I appreciate you guys having me on and allowing me to do this.
It's an exciting time for Bears fans, and I know one for you as well. Before we get to all of your experiences you take with you into this training camp, I want to give you a chance to talk about an event that's coming up in Barrington, real special to you at the end of the month, the Putt for Paws. You're a dog guy, a West Virginia dog guy. How did that start, and what's the event all about if our listeners and viewers want to participate?
Yeah, I think it started, obviously as a young kid, always wanting a dog. My parents never letting me have a dog. And then eventually, when I turned 16, they got me my first dog, Kane Isaac, who sadly passed away a couple years ago due to cancer. But as far as the Putt for Paws, I'll be emceeing at the Shelters Putt for Paws golf event Friday, July 26th at the McNeil Golf Club in Barrington, as you said. And kind of just looking forward to meeting fans, knocking a couple straight down the fairway, and raising as much money as we can for the shelter's expansion. Tickets are available, and you can buy them at animalhouseshelter.com. To join me. And then if you're not a golfer, there's also a dinner going on afterwards where we can meet and you can get an autograph and we can just kind of sit down and talk a little bit.
You know, I don't mean to make this about me, but I had some trauma with dogs as a kid too. What was it about dogs that wasn't your parents' flavor, and how did you turn them to get you one before you left high school?
I just think it came down to they had too many kids and they had too much going on to be able to handle taking care of another living thing in the house. But I think once we got a little bit older, once they stopped having kids, it was a little bit easier to introduce the idea of having a dog running around the house.
I know you have been asked questions about your arrival at the NFL out of little bitty shepherd a million times. So I'm trying to find ways to ask something different. Maybe to challenge you a little bit. But I don't know if I've got anything that you haven't heard. When did you feel like at the pro level you belonged?
I think the preseason, I think definitely, training camp last year, I had a pretty good camp last year. And then it was kind of all just really made sense to me after how the preseason went. I was able to make some plays, put some drives together, put some points on the board. And then, after that, after getting real, playing time, even though it's the preseason, that gave me kind of all the confidence I needed to understand how good I was and that, I was here and here to stay.
There have been some extremely successful NFL quarterbacks who didn't go to quarterback university. First, I remember Kenny Anderson of the Bengals, Augustana College in Illinois, a D3 school. He went to a Super Bowl with Cincinnati, and I think he's a Hall of Famer. And Phil Simms went to Morehead State. Did anybody who ascended from these little bitty places ever contact you to say, hey, man, keep it going? You belong here. Any encouragement you receive from NFL alums?
None from the low-level guys like that, but, underdog guys like Kurt Warner were very helpful and instrumental during the weeks that I was playing. Kurt would send me notes that he took from watching my games and things that I could help myself improve on for the weeks to come. And as far as like underdogs go, that was pretty much the only underdog. I wouldn't say Peyton Manning is much of an underdog. He hit me up, but I would never say that going to the University of Tennessee and then being a first rounder is underdog. But as far as that goes, Kurt Warner was that guy for me.
What did Peyton Manning say to you, and when was it?
It was after the Raiders game. He just kind of said congratulations, but we had been in contact from a couple summers ago. I got invited to the Manning Passing Academy. So I was able to hang around them for that weekend and get to know them a little bit. So he had already had my number in his phone. So he kind of just congratulated me on the victory.
That was the Raiders game. If I remember right, week 6, your first start. Fields gets hurt in week 5 against the Vikings, and you come in to finish. That's at home, and then the Raiders game. It went surprisingly smoothly. I think. I don't think anybody was expecting the transition for a little while to be so seamless. That had to just shoot your confidence skyrocketing, man.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it was a big spot to be in. A lot of a lot on your shoulders as a young quarterback, especially playing games in the NFL. Is so hard to win. So anytime you can get out of there with a victory, play well, protect the football, it's always a good day. But yeah, I mean, it just comes down to just all the work I put in, just living in the playbook, and just trying to be the best tool I can be for the team, which is what I kind of have done just my whole life.
My phone blew up during the first half of the Saints game because you drew first blood. You were running around. You were comfortable. Derek Carr ties it with a touchdown pass to Olave, and you come right back, and it's Bears 14-7 early in the second quarter. The wheels fell off the wagon in the second half, but the world took notice of you, I think, after the Raiders game and then the first half in New Orleans, and that's a bitch of a place to play. It's loud in there.
Mm-hmm.
From then on out, I would think it's, hey, man, I belong here, and nobody in those rooms that matter in Lake Forest ever looked at you again as a small school guy who's just here to hold a clipboard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, no doubt. I don't look at myself as some guy that is going to hold a clipboard for 10, 12 years. I have big goals, big aspirations of winning the Super Bowl, being a great quarterback in the league, and being one of the best players on the team. And that's kind of where I'm headed. And whether that happens or not is kind of out of my hands. But that's definitely what I'm shooting for. I'm not shooting for being a backup for my whole career. I'm definitely looking to be the man at some point. So that's kind of just what my focus is. That's kind of what I think about when I'm training, and that's kind of what I think about when I walk around the building. I don't walk around the building like a little D2 kid. I walk around the building thinking I'm the man because I know that's one day what I want to be is the man.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting too how people in the offseason continued to talk about the future of the position here in Chicago. And it's just noise. And I'm sure you realized a long time ago, it's noise. What matters is what these guys think and the work I'm putting in. But what was it like to go through several months of just wondering and hearing speculation? Is Caleb Williams coming? Who's going to fill out the other spots on the roster at my position? And they signed Brett Rippon. How did that feel?
I didn't really pay attention to any of it. I didn't know what was going to happen. They didn't tell me anything. I didn't really have any opinion on the matter. And then as far as Brett, I mean, I showed up in middle April when we went back for the spring, and he was in the room, and he's been amazing dude in the room, very helpful. He's helped me out a ton, learned a lot from him, and he's a good dude. So I love having him around. But as far as that whole matter was concerned, it was kind of out of my control, so I didn't really pay much attention to it. And it was the first off time I had in a while, so most of my time was spent just hanging out with family, getting my body back into really good shape, and then just kind of letting it unfold however it was going to unfold. And I think it unfolded the best way it could have for our team, and I think that going into this year we have a really strong team, and that's just kind of hats off to Poles and all the things he's been able to do in the offseason.
That can't be an easy thing to accomplish, ignoring the noise, whether it's negative or positive, because you have friends who consume media and
Mhm.
family, and they always want to talk about it, I'm certain. But you get conditioned to it, I guess. Let's talk about Shane Waldron and his influence on this offense. Warren Moon told me, the Hall of Famer who's been watching the Seahawks out there doing radio for 17 years, he said what you're going to like about this guy is he doesn't pigeonhole everybody into his idea of what his offense should be. He tailored Geno Smith's game plans for his skills 2 years ago, and Smith, who was a damn punchline, Tyson, for 9 previous years, is the comeback player of the year. What do you like so far about what Waldron's brought to the table?
Yeah, I mean, I like Shane a lot. I think he's very level-headed. No matter, so far it hasn't been, actual bullets flying around, but when things get competitive and intense, he's the same guy all the time. And kind of like you said, he's not looking for guys to have to fit into what he has going on. He knows that the players are the one out there playing, and that whatever all his guys are more comfortable with is usually what's going to be more successful. So kind of like you said, he tailors a lot of what he does to the players. A lot of going back and forth on what we like, what we don't like, what's comfortable, what's uncomfortable. And I think it's worked out so far this spring. And I know that being offensive coordinator with a young rookie quarterback isn't the easiest thing to do, but he's done a great job. Just kind of tailoring everything to, what makes Caleb comfortable and what makes him not comfortable, when we need to speed things up, when we need to slow things down. And so far it's been great.
You heard anything about progress with a contract for the first pick in the draft?
Nah, I don't even know what any of that means.
He hasn't signed yet, right? What Dunze hasn't signed yet.
I signed mine immediately, so I have no clue I don't know what any of that stuff means. But I'll leave that up to them. I have no clue.
And that's what will give you perspective forever, is that you signed it immediately. Something Kurt Warner and I discussed was how grateful he remains today for getting a chance when he was bagging groceries several years after college. First round picks don't know that life. They can't relate to that.
Yeah.
And it keeps you grounded, doesn't it? Keeps you dialed in.
Yeah, I think, I come from a real, my dad doesn't seem it on video and in person, but I come from just a very humble family and everything. And I think I've done a good job just kind of policing myself with not letting anything get too high or too low, trying to stay level-headed and kind of like what you just said, just being so unbelievably appreciative for the opportunity to play in the National Football League. And the fact that I don't have to be a plumber or a teacher or anything else like that. I get to play football for a living right now, which just every day I'm kind of just pinching myself and going as absolute hard as I can to kind of steward the opportunity as much as I can. So I think I kind of look at it the same way. I walk around Hallis Hall, can't believe where I'm at all the time. So it's a lot of that for me every day.
Yeah, and the facilities in the NFL, right around the time when you were born 24 years ago, things started changing. You're enjoying the lap of luxury in pro football. It wasn't always like that, and the Bears found a way to overcome it. Despite that, the talent that's been through there, it's just been a while since they've seen it at the most important position on the field. Sports fans get tired of terminology as it changes over the years, and I see people roll their eyes when the word culture is invoked. And you just talked about what it's like at Hallis Hall. This is seemingly, from an outsider's perspective, a terrific culture administratively, and they connect with the coaches, which has not always been the case. How do you describe the culture in Lake Forest?
Yeah, I think it's just, it's a gritty, hardworking, but also loving culture. Like, everybody puts their best foot forward. Everybody's trying to win as many games as they can. But just a couple things I took from last year, especially talking to guys that have been other places, is that when we got off to a rough start, I think we were 1-5, first 6 games, but it didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like that in the facility. It didn't feel like that in practice. Dudes were still competing, working really hard because we knew the team that we had. We knew we could turn it around at any given moment, and I think that kind of helped us go 6-4 the last 10 games of the season. And, really just kind of that's just kind of hats off because especially somebody like Montez Sweat who talked about his time with the Commanders and just when it was down, when things were bad, you could really feel and tell that things were bad. And that really was never the case at Hallis Hall. Everybody always was ready to work, happy to be there, and, ready to get things going in the right direction. So that was kind of the one main thing that I took because I think nothing's worse than being down and then looking around and knowing that everybody's down, knowing that there's no spice, there's no enthusiasm in the building. That was never the case. So I think that's a hats off to the people higher up, coaches, everybody involved.
It really is. Matt Eberflus is everybody's on his death watch when you guys were 0-4, and coming into this year after weathering those storms, he's every gaming site's favorite to win Coach of the Year. What's he like, and does he stay away from the offense, as defensive coaches probably would be best served to do?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say he stays away. He is the head coach, so I think he should have an idea of what's going on in all three phases. But he sits in the quarterback rooms, every once in a while, every so often, and it's always good to have such a deep insight of the defensive side of the ball, which I think he does a good job of enlightening all of us quarterbacks on, what's going on, what people's responsibilities are on the defensive side of the ball. And as far as him as a person, he's always outgoing, always smiling, having a good time. And I love Coach Flus, and I think he does a great job, despite all the hate that he got last year, which I'm sure he'll get hate at another point in his career. But he just takes it on the chin and just keeps on being super positive, super energetic, and I'm happy he's our coach.
Those who sit in the biggest chairs bear the heaviest burdens, coaches and quarterbacks. And maybe you'll be around for 15 years and you'll taste a lot of hate when it does. That'd be a good thing to have to deal with that, especially with your demeanor. As you guys get ready to go to camp and eventually board the charter and go to Cleveland for the Hall of Fame game, I'm sure you're more than eager to do the putt for Paws in Barrington in the last Friday of the month and get back to work. This is going to be a hugely watched preseason game. We got 2.5 Bears going into the Hall of Fame, ranging from guys who almost everybody remembers watching as a kid in Devin Hester to Steve McMichael, who's just a couple years older than I am and a friend. So that's going to be a bigger stage than it typically would be for a preseason game. How excited are you for it?
Yeah, super excited, super just exciting to kick off the football season, and then exciting, to play because if everything goes how, it's supposed to go, Caleb will start and he'll play all the games, and the only guaranteed time that I have to play this year is this preseason. So I'm looking forward to just really showing how much better I am than I was last year, how much more comfortable I am controlling and commanding the offense, and really just excited to play football. I mean, it's my job, and excited. My family will be there. I'm always excited to play in front of my family, and it's just another opportunity for me in the National Football League. So, kind of just like what I said, pinching myself every day, every morning. Can't wait for August 1st to come around. And how awesome is it that a couple Bears are going into the Hall of Fame? You can't really beat that. So exciting all around. Excited to get the ball rolling and excited to play some football.
In what ways are you better than you were a year ago?
Every single way. I'm way better than I was last year. Way more comfortable. Just way higher IQ of situational football and what's going on around me. I throw the ball better. I'm faster. Really just, anything that you could say, I've honed in on and worked at it as hard as I could, just because, like I said, this is just trying to steward this opportunity the best I can. So just trying to get in the best shape, both mentally and physically as I can. And I think I've worked about as hard as I could. for this season. So I'm just really excited.
The Bears' single-season passing record holder is Eric Kramer, 3,838 yards 29 years ago. I talked to him several times, and what he loves about what you do is how natural you are with the drop back, how it almost seems second nature. It's rhythmic, he described it as, and he doesn't see that in even veteran players. Is that a result of just reps, or how do you get to be so natural at that?
I think it's probably a mixture of the fact that I was created to play quarterback, and the fact that it's probably the 5,000th time that I've taken that drop. And so it's a little bit of both. Yeah, a little bit of both. I don't really do anything except this whole football gig. So I hope it looks natural.
It's a heck of a compliment. When you get back in the spotlight at some point, does anybody need to give your dad a friendly elbow in the ribs and say, okay, you had the limelight last year, let's let Tyson have the show?
Nah, I don't mind it at all. I mean, I'm playing in the NFL. He's getting old. He needs all the limelight that he can get. And I love it. I think a lot of people love it too. Very enthusiastic, very funny on camera, and he's always got a couple lines up his sleeve for whatever comment is made towards him. So I think it's definitely very entertaining, and that's my guy. So, whatever limelight he gets, that's the limelight that the Bagents get. So I don't mind it at all.
Very cool. And it was cool too that you break the mold, because quarterbacks historically, they go to fancy schools. They have regal names like Peyton and Carson, and they come from this lineage of the proper. And we got a guy in tats whose old man owns a gym, and he's arm wrestling. They used to go, and it was different. It was fun. It's nice to see the freak flag a little bit fly from the position. So a lot of us did enjoy it. Man, it's fun catching up. Have a great preseason, and Putt for Paws again is Friday the 26th of the month in Barrington. You don't have to be a golfer to participate. Tyson Bagent, a pleasure to talk with you. Have a great camp.
Hey, my man, thank you very much. Have a great day.
You got it. That's the Bears quarterback. And right now, with number 18 nowhere near a contract, who knows? I have a feeling we could see a lot of this guy, especially in the preseason. I want to thank Randy Merkin for handling all the guests I get on the Danny Mac podcast. Sam Michael is my executive producer. Everybody back at the shop like Adam Delabit, the baby Capone of the outfit. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I'm Dan McNeil. So long.